Welcome back to your episode of Crystal Hook Fishing. Today we are out of Tampa again. The reason we went to the Keys last week was because the visibility in Tampa was just destroyed by the hurricane. But now it's the weekend of the St. Pete Open, which means that yesterday all the spots got hit really hard for the tournament. And today we're gonna see if we can't find some fish on those same spots, find some good visibility. We got Eric, Will, and Evan, and I will see you guys out on the water.
Welcome back underwater, everybody. This week's episode is right on schedule, about a week late. This is my last dive of the summer. Last summer, we ended up diving out of Clearwater, hitting some of the shallower spots first before we headed out to the deeper spots that we thought would have been less pressured by the spearfishing tournament. On my way down here, and once I get to the bottom, you can see the size of the structure that I'm diving. It's pretty awesome. It's the same spot that I shot my cubera off of last summer, but this time we weren't really expecting cubera. The viz wasn't really that good. I was just trying to find a spot to sit and hunt these schools of mangroves because they move in and out of the structure a lot. Trying to be pretty picky with these mangroves because I know there are big ones around. So I'm laying down, I'm grunting, I'm scratching, trying not to move my feet especially. You can get away with moving your head around, but if you move your feet and your body or you start kicking, that displaces a lot of water and it'll spook the fish. So I see a big one come up here and I end up hip firing at him and pulling him in on my way up, keeping him out of the structure and landing my first fish of the trip. Although there were like probably 10 or 12 dives before this because the viz was not great and we kept diving off of the structure. But got the first fish. You want to hold your breath with me for this next dive. So on my way down, same structure, just this giant kind of like we call the spot Cubera Castle because it is like 3 stories of concrete pilings that were laid on top of each other. So you can go into the bottom cave, then there's like a middle story cave, and then there's like the top part, which is what I'm on right now. And you can see that if you swim down in there, you can go even deeper. It's incredible. It comes probably 20 feet off the bottom at the top, and then it's in like 55 feet of water. So it's a really cool dynamic spot, and you kind of understand why cubera would be there. So what I'm doing right now is sitting on the edge of the structure itself and then looking out towards the sand. You can hear the prop of a boat that's running somewhere along by, which is kind of freaky. I always hate to hear the props of a boat. I'm seeing these schools of mangoes. Some of them aren't like terrible, but again, I'm trying to be selective because it's the first few dives of the day. Really not enjoying the sound of the boat idling around. It looks like it sounds like the boat was idling around, like looking for a spot or something. We had our dive flag up, so I just had to kind of trust that the boat was not gonna run over us or come near us, but the sound travels really far underwater, so it is kind of freaky. Notice how when I'm crawling, I'm not kicking. I'm using my arms to pull myself around over the structure so that I'm not displacing water with my fins. I'm looking around the structure and not really seeing any fish, even though I'm seeing tons of places that they could hide. There's just nothing big enough to catch my eye. So I start heading back towards the surface, and you can see Eric on his way down while I'm coming up. And then head to the surface.
Oh yeah, it's a big red. Think someone caught it and just left it out here? It looks like barotrauma. His ACI stomach's all big.
Alright, so if you can't tell by the footage from the boat, we moved spots. We're now in like 70, 75, might be 60, 68 or something. Anyway, this spot we call it soy bait because it sounds like sorbet, but it's just covered in bait. There's mangroves all up in the spot, but there's also tons of Goliaths and tons and tons and tons of bait. Sometimes when we dive this spot, we literally can't see the structure because of how much bait there is. You're diving through just a shimmering school of fish, and you can't see anything around you until you literally like hit your gun on the structure. But here it's kind of manageable. Looking around, this one hole that I'm looking at is very consistent producing fish, but for some reason just wasn't really super active on this day. On a different dive, I see this nice sheep's head and I line up on it and just completely miss. Alright, next dive. We are still at soy bait. You'll see that hole that I was talking about with the snapper. It tends to always produce, and the best part about it normally is that you can shoot one, come back down, and there'll be others just like sticking their head out. But the trick to it is you have to sit there for a little bit to let them come out. You scratch and grunt, and then they come out from the deeper parts of the spot out to that hole, and then you plug them and just try to rip them out as quickly as possible, because if they get stuck back there, it's really annoying. And sometimes they'll get stuck back there and then you go to the surface and they swim out and the Goliaths just destroy them. So I'm sitting here, I'm crawling up towards that hole where I like to shoot the snapper. You can see how kind of tall this spot is. It's got like these cables and concrete and like ship parts. There's the hole again, and I'm just looking into it, waiting for a nice snapper to come out here. And was that a schoolmaster? That was like yellow. Whatever. Anyway, waiting, sitting around, seeing that one, pull the trigger, and just trying to get him out of there as quickly as possible. Don't want him swimming back in there. Pull him up, out, and swimming straight up so that the Goliaths don't get to him. You can see how even halfway up the column there's all that bait. There were a couple of AJs on there too. I made it to the surface with this guy. Got my second fish of the day. Nice little mango.
There's mahi everywhere and big triple tail on that thing.
So we were running and we saw this big floater and it was just covered in triple tail and this school of like probably, I don't know, like they were small mahi, but they were probably like, I don't know, 17 inches. I ended up plugging one just because I'd never shot a mahi with a spear gun before. And it was cool to even just to see them, and they grow very quickly and are sustainable. And this guy ended up as exactly 2 tacos. Each fillet was a taco. Couldn't really support much more with him not being that big, but he was bigger than the first mango I had shot, so you know, just for a mahi, not very big. Next dive, we're now at this wreck that is in about 85, sorry, 85 to bottom. We're on our way down there. We hit this layer where the viz got considerably worse. You start to see it get a little greener. The particles coming towards the camera are getting much bigger right here. Probably because the current had kicked stuff up. I look down and around on the bottom, and it's a tall wreck. There's this big tower, and right as I get to the tower, there's these nice mangoes that make me stop, and then I look up, and I see this permit just race across my field of view after I get done playing with the mangoes. Nice little scamp there. And there's the permit. Blast him. Head straight up. Because he swam out and away from the wreck, which is good. So I just opened my reel up and let him go as I was heading up. Because one of the biggest concerns with these permit is that Goliath are going to eat them, because the Goliaths love permit. So free spool, head to the surface, start fighting him from the surface instead.
Oh, I'm in trouble. Big permit, lots of jewies. Woo!
So I'm fighting him from the surface, and he's taking a bunch of line, but he swam away from the wreck, so I thought I was fine. Turns out I'm not. I'm pulling him in, and right here I'm going to zoom in so you can see this Goliath comes from nowhere and just smashes him. Comes straight down, lets go of him. Evan scares it off, puts the second shot in the fish, and we end up securing the fish. But if you can see, when I pull this guy up and in, he's just been torn to shreds by the Goliath. We've got the bloods from Evan's shot, but all of those scratches, the tail's broken, gashes all over it, that's just from the one bite from the Goliath.
Dude, look how much the Goliath messed this guy up.
He swallowed a hole in front of me.
Evan would have had so much of a better shot with his GoPro, but his GoPro wasn't on. So get that permit, and my shaft is pretty bent. You can kind of tell there. And normally with a bent shaft, you can't really tell on a GoPro, but that one was bent enough that you can like see it on camera, which is wild. Last dive of the day, coming on down on the same wreck, and this time I'm kind of just chilling. I have my permit, I've got my 2 mangoes, don't really need much else for the day. But if something presents an opportunity, I'll pull the trigger. And because I'm kind of chilling, I'm able to crank out one of the longest dives I've ever cranked out at this depth. It's 85 feet to bottom, remember, and this dive is over 2 minutes long, which for me at least is a pretty big accomplishment because of a 2-minute dive being pretty easy in 28 to 50 feet because you're not kicking that much, you're not wasting that much oxygen through your kicks. But when you're deeper, you have to kick all the way back up. So 2-minute dives are much more challenging. Get on the bottom. I see this nice mango and I'm trying to grunt to get him in. I'm laying all the way on the bottom, trying to get him to come hang out with me. But he's not really having any of it. I know there are mangoes just like darting in and out of these cracks though, so I'm being patient. I'm seeing which ones want to come close, and I know it's just a matter of time before one comes in. So I just stay where I'm at, just slowly inching towards it and shoot it, head straight for the surface. And what's really important on these long dives is after you shoot a fish, not to freak out and kick super hard. You just kind of swim up at a nice casual pace. Otherwise, you're going to run out of oxygen because you're going to get your heart rate going too fast. So, head up to the surface here. Got my fish. And that is the last fish of the day. I'll see you guys back at the ramp and for next week's episode.
For that.
I kept seeing.
Well, that's it for this episode. The viz was not that great. I'm exhausted. I don't even know what I'm doing for this outro. Look at my hair. It's all messed up. I'm gonna go get food because I forgot my cooler, which means the Carlsons have all my fish, so I need to get actual food for myself. And I will see you guys in the next one. We got some scraps from filleting and some triple tail. So cool.
Oh.
Got some extra special fish.